What's up YouTube, Webberz05 here, coming at you today with Q&A number 10! Reached 10 Q&As already. It's hard to believe that I've already made it this far. Thank you so much for enjoying the series, guys, and I'm so glad that you're enjoying it. Okay, so few questions this week, so I'll just get straight into it. First one, not actually a question, but kind of a response to something I commented. I believe it was on one of his as a response to my previous Q&A from Dark Christian saying Blaze Excel Reloaded came out in Secrets of Eternity and Volcanics became so annoying after that. Well, thank you for letting me know when it came out, my friend. And to be honest, come on, Richie. Volcanics weren't that annoying. Scatter shot on your opponent's turn is fun. You know, unless you're the one who's being hit with the scatter shot. And not sure if this is an official question for my Q&A, but it is a question on there, so I'm going to answer it. It's a question that was posted under that comment from lol11,000 asking, would you guys do a collab? I don't know about Dark Magician, but I would be perfectly happy to do a collab with him at some point if he's interested, and it also just depends on what we'd collab on. But yeah, I'd be happy to do that if it's up, but that's also up to the Dark Magician. So let me know. Okay, so that was a quick one. Next up, 6 questions from Dark Magician 84, defined as very cool questions. So, first question, what's your favorite spell? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had a lot of time to take a look at some of these I haven't had a proper time to take a look at these questions because I've been kind of busy over the past few days, but if I had to think off the top of my head, my favorite spell... okay, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'm going to come back to the one, but I do have an answer to question 2. What's my favorite trap? For me, that is an easy one. I can get my binder out for that. My favorite here it is. My favorite trap in the game is Mystical Ref Panel. It's a card I really like just for its design and how it works, despite the fact it's really not actually optimal to play in the game because Konami refuses to reprint an errata this card to make it easier to understand. Mystical Ref Panel for those who don't know, Mystical Ref Panel's effect is activate only when a spell that targets one player is activated. The effect of that spell card is applied to the other player instead. Now so many players are so confused on how this card works. Konami has officially ruled that this card works when a spell is activated that does one of 5 things. Either allows one player to discard, one player to draw, increases a player's life points, decreases a player's life points, or shifts control, such as with cards like Mesmeric Control. Those are the only situations it works in. But Konami has decided they don't want to errata it and just put that, even though that would be so much easier to understand how the card works. Like I said, because it only works in those 5 situations, naturally this trap is very difficult to resolve. But that being said, I originally picked this card up after the Dark Illusion format when Pot of Desires got printed, because I figured loads of people are going to be playing it, so I figured they'd go, banish 10, cool, ref panel, I'm going to steal your draw. That's the reason I picked it up in the first place. I actually did get to resolve this against a player once during, I think it was a regional that my locals did. Oh, that was fun. I did a ref panel, stole his draw Pot of Desires when he was essentially top decking. Turned the game around from there. Unfortunately, I kind of bricked off this card the next couple of games, so I lost the match. But still, I got to do this to someone, so I'm happy. So, going back, favorite spell. Casually just searching through my binder here to see if there's a spell that's just going to pop out and hit me as something that I really like. Let's see here. Oh yeah, by the way, what am I thinking? That's also a pretty easy one. Considering I've got an entire double binder page of it, I would probably have to say my favorite spell card is, for those who can't see it up closely, I'll just grab one out. Celestial Observatory. So I originally started playing. So for those who have seen been with my channel for a while, I used to play this in my variant of Pendulum Magicians because Celestial Observer decides to place a level 6 monster from hand or face up on the field to the bottom of the deck to draw 2. In Pendulum Magician, the level 6s I play are like Chronograph, Oath Dragon, Jackal King, all of which are level 6s I'm perfectly happy to have in my deck, because Jackal King I can just search off Master Cerberus, Oath Dragon I can search off either Pendulum Call or Wisdom Eye, and Chronograph I play 3 copies of it, so I don't necessarily need all 3 in my hand. But primarily, I just really love this card for the artwork, and it was one of those underrated secrets at the time that nobody really wanted. I really like the artwork, so anytime somebody pulled it, I'm like, send it my way. And now I have a double binder page of it. So yeah, that's probably my favourite spell. Question 3. What's your most hated spell? Oh, most hated spell. That's a difficult one to say. There's lots of spells in the game that have been rather annoying for me. Just trying to think, is there one particular one that stands out? Particular spell that stands out as one that I hate. Trying to think. Because, like, guys, frankly, it would be too easy to say something like Mystic Mine, because everyone doesn't really like Mystic Mine. But personally, I don't have a huge issue about Mystic Mine. Yes, it's an annoying card, but because I play Endymion, I already have main deck an out to it, which is in Mighty Master himself, which is really great. Spell I hate. Guys, I do apologise that I don't seem to be as prepared as I normally would for this Q&A. I've been kind of busy over the past few days. Additionally, today, right before I started recording this, I just come back from London for an MRI scan, so just feeling a bit out of it at the moment, but I'll be alright. Spell I hate. I may have to come back to that. I may have to come back to that one as well. But again, while I think of a spell that I hate, I can answer question 4. What is my most hated trap? Because again, that's a very easy one. I don't actually own this trap for the specific reason that I hate it, and that would have to go to Anti-Spell Fragrance. The number of players that just go for Anti-Spell Fragrance against a Pendulum player to make sure it doesn't play, so annoying. It's just one of those few cards that either I have to hit the out, or I'm just stuck. So yeah. Really don't like Anti-Spell Fragrance, but that being said, as a Pendulum player, I'm expected not to like Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now, trying to circle back to spell card. So, trying to circle back to a spell card that I hate. I really actually don't think there's a spell I particularly hate. Well, let me just try and think back to a spell that's been used on me. Oh, no, I've got one. I can think of a spell I truly hate because it was used in combination by Dark Patrician 84 to wipe out one of my boards that I made in an extra link when I was playing Spiral Nightmare. So I'd probably have to put that. So I'd have to probably put my most hated spell as Rank Cut Magic Numeron Force. Just because of that one instance that Dark Patrician did it to me. For those who don't know what the situation I'm talking about, I was playing this combo deck of Spiral Nightmare. I set up an extra link board with the three co-link nightmares in the main monster zone of Griffin, Goblin, and Cerberus, Phoenix, and Goblin, and in the extra monster zone, I don't remember both of the ones I had. I think it was a Unicorn and instead of completely locking him out the extra deck, I decided to go for fun at the time by doing Topologic Gumblar to rip cards out of his hand. So that was a full extra link, and Dark Patrician decided to just go set a card in hand, exile someone into Utopia, forcibly triggering the effect of Gunpla to discard 2 cards. Then after that, oh no, he set 2 cards in his hand because of what he was planning to do. Flips rank up Magic Numeral Force to drop Utopia Ray Victory, and then negate the effects of everything on my board, and then flip Raigeki against me, and just essentially make all the effort I wasted on that extra link board pointless. Personally, as a card, I do like rank up Magic Numeron Force. I've had some fun with it back in the day. But for that one particular instance, kind of just sticks in my memory as something I don't like. But yeah, thanks very much for doing that to me, Richie. Really, really appreciate it. And on that note, moving on. Question 5 from Dark Patrician 84. Among your decks, which one do you think would win the following matchups? Odd Eyes versus Endymion, Odd Eyes versus Plunder Patrol, Endymion versus Plunder Patrol. Okay, so now for all of these matchups, naturally the going first, going second would play a huge part of it. But for the first one, Odd Eyes versus Endymion, that's kind of difficult to call. Both are very powerful in the way that I've built them. Both have a very good going first and going second matchup. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I'd probably have to play it out to find out. But I would personally probably put my bet on Endymion, because for the way I built my Endymion, it's really good early game, and I've also built it up quite well that it can do well in the late game as well. I'm not sure. I haven't really had too many matches with Odd Eyes since I've updated it, so I don't really know how well it would do in the mid to late game. But yeah, probably Endymion. Odd Eyes versus Plunder Patrol. Again, that's kind of going down to who goes first or second. Odd Eyes, I know, would have a very good matchup against Plunder Patrol, because with how I built Odd Eyes, I can set. If I know I'm against Plunder Patrol, I would set my focus on doing something like summoning Odd Eyes Gravity, which is Earth attribute, which means Plunder Patrol can't work off anything I've been doing, which means Plunder Patrol can't work off my attributes. Also puts Plunder into the position that they have to pay 500 life points to do stuff, and Plunder need a lot of effects to go off. So that would be one of my shouts to deal with them. But additionally, Plunder Patrol naturally have a very strong game going second, waiting for what the opponent's attributes have got. Then naturally the ships to banish something, get resources, get effects off being discarded. Could go either way. And Endymion versus Plunder Patrol, again, as I said, first or second goes quite well. I'd probably have to put my money towards Endymion, just because I think, because of the pendulum effect of Mighty Master, it would just completely annihilate our Plunder Patrol board. It may not even necessarily have to take out the monsters, but if it takes out the equips, then Plunder Patrol can't play on the opposing turn. And since Plunder Patrol would probably want Brand to take out the pendulums before they can do any of their effects, since Endymion doesn't actually play any fire attribute monsters with the exception of the Nightmare Phoenix in my extra deck, which I would not summon against Plunder Patrol, yeah, it would probably get a stronger advantage. But since naturally I have no idea but frankly that is a situation I wouldn't mind trying to find out. And Richie, if at any time we do this collaboration at some point, if you'd be willing to let me use your Edo Pro accounts, Edo/Dev Pro accounts, I'd be very happy to test all 3 of these matchups to see what happens. And finally, question 6. Similar question. If your Endymion, Odd Eyes and Plunder Patrol treks were in a battle royale, which deck do you think would win? Again, that is another situation I would be perfectly happy to trial out and find out. Of course, since I'd be running all 3 decks, I'd be absolutely exhausted trying to play 3 decks at once. But I think personally Endymion would probably come out on top just because of how strong, as I said, of how strong its going second game is. So even if Endymion wins the die roll, I would probably opt it to go last just so it can attack. And I've got the option of my Master's Pendulum effect to board wipe, and then from there, pretty simple. But again, both scenarios I would be happy to test out at some point when I get time. And last question. And last questions are from Omar CU. What do you think of the Sky Striker package in Endymion? Kagari in the extra deck, main deck, 1 engage, Hornet Drones multi-roll. Do you think it's worth to play? Why no or why yes? Yes. I would personally say no. Just because of the size of the engine that you've described. You've chosen the three one-off spells, which wouldn't really do too much. I think essentially the best that you would be able to do is engage into the Hornet drones, make Kagari effect to either Kagari effect, add back the engage into multi-roll, and then essentially you could just go multi-roll effect, send Kagari, and then the spells can't be responded to. I mean, multi-roll's effect to prevent your opponent from responding to your spells would be really useful, but I personally don't think the Sky Striker engine would be worth it, because from how Endymion plays, you're trying to set up as many spell counts as you can, and since Sky Striker is required to have nothing in your main monster zone, you can't really set up your spell counters very easily with it, so personally I don't think it would be very useful in the deck, but if you want to give it a go, be my guest. Can't tell you how to play the deck, I can only suggest. And you've also commented additionally, thanks. Also, what is your opinion on Spellbook of Judgment in Endymion because of the ban list? Typically, now as I did post in my comments for my Q&A, I don't really like to do ban list opinions, but admittedly, this is something I've been thinking about. It's also something a lot of people in the Endymion group are thinking about. I think if we were to start playing Spellbook of Judgment, we would have to increase the spellbook engines that we're using, because currently the basic engine of what people use is Magician of Prophecy, Secrets, Knowledge, which isn't exactly a huge amount of spellbooks, so it wouldn't exactly be very easy to resolve Judgment to get something off. Additionally, if you want to summon one of like your negates, you'd have to play a lot of spellbook spells in your turn, and that's not likely. You'd need to play a minimum of 6 just to be able to summon Jackal King, or if you want to do it, or if you want to do a text scenario of what most people would do with Spellbook of Judgment of Jalgan. 3 is not exactly very difficult to do. Jalgan's quite annoying to deal with, but you'd still have to adjust the build to suit a spellbook styled engine. It's definitely something It's definitely something I've been thinking about since everyone was anticipating Spellbook of Judgment was to come back. I'm also very much in regret that I didn't pick it up before the ban list dropped, when they were still somewhat cheaper. But I'll figure it out. But, like I said, unless I figure out that I do want to play, committing to a full spellbook engine to try it out, I'm not too fussed about it right now, but I will certainly be keeping an eye out both on the Endymion group and on YouTube to see if anyone does start coming up with spellbook variants of Endymion to accommodate Judgment. But yeah, I'd be very interested to see that. And on that note, guys, that is all the questions on this Q&A. Thank you to everyone who posted them. Thank you and for the next Q&A, guys, get your questions in before Wednesday of next week, early afternoon UK time. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.